In Spanish, we have a very, very clear difference between formal way of speaking and informal way of speaking. And in this chapter 10, we talk about formal commands, mandatos formales, ¿ok? Okay, en los próximos capítulos vamos a hablar sobre mandatos informales o informal commands. We use informal commands when we are with our friends and when we are with our family, and the social milieu, the social situation is completely friendly, and you know the people, they're usually your age, but we're not going to talk about informal commands in this PowerPoint. Okay, we're going to talk about formal commands, mandatos formales. Okay, when do we use formal commands? Well, we use formal commands when we are in a situation in which there's a difference in social status, in the relationship between two people. When you're talking to a doctor, when you're talking to your supervisor, your boss, your instructor, your professor. It varies according to specific situations, but usually is when you're talking to a person that is either older than you don't know very well, is a professional or is in a professional environment. So that's when you use formal commands. Okay, how do we conjugate a verb in a formal command? ¿Cómo se forman los mandatos formales? Okay, well, you're going to use the third person singular and the third person plural and the subjunctive, and that's it. Okay, if you know the subjunctive, you know how to give commands. And in the case of formal commands, you have a singular form and you have a plural form. Okay, guys, you can see here the formal commands, how you conjugate in it's also called the imperative form. Hablar, well, it's hable. Comer es coma. Y escribir es escriba. Ese es el mandato. Hable, coma, escriba. In the plural es hablen, coman, escriban. Now, let's do a mini review of the subjunctive. Remember the subjunctive? When you are going to conjugate a verb in the subjunctive, and the ending is ar, okay? Usually the endings begin with e, and if you look at usted, okay? If you look at usted, you would see how it's conjugated. Hablar, hable. If the verb ends in er, the endings usually begin with the a, con la a. For example, usted, usted, coma, usted, coma. Y verbos que terminan en ir, también las terminaciones, also the endings begin with the a usually. Usted viva, usted viva. This is a mini review. Okay, what happens when we have a command, a formal command that is in the negative? well, when you have a formal command that is in the negative, what you do is you put the no, okay, you put the no before the verb, okay, here, no, no vaya a la playa, no hablen en la clase, plural, no toque el piano. The particle no is always before the verb. Okay, what happens when you have formal commands with either reflexive verbs or verbs using direct and indirect pronouns? If you don't remember what a direct and indirect pronoun is, I recommend that you go to my lab and listen to the tutorial about direct and indirect pronouns. Okay, let's see the first example, ponerse. Ponerse is a reflexive verb, ponerse. Okay, if you're going to create a mandato, a command, using the verb ponerse, which is reflexivo, okay, you say póngase, póngase, póngase una inyección para la influenza. Sentarse is another reflexive verb. Remember the reflexive verbs end in se, se, okay? And these two verbs are not only reflexive, they are irregular. So how do you conjugate this one? Well, you would say siéntese en la silla. Siéntese en la silla. If you're talking to a group of people, you would say siéntense en la silla. Siéntense en la silla. Okay, let's say you have a sentence that says beba el jugo de naranja, okay? But you don't want to mention jugo de naranja because you have mentioned jugo de naranja a lot. So you're going to use a pronoun. In this case, we're going to use a direct pronoun. And jugo de naranja is masculine. So what you would say is bébalo. Bébalo. If it's more than one person that you're addressing, bébanlo. Bébanlo. If it's in the negative, no lo beba. No lo beba. O no lo beban. Okay? Okay. The indirect and direct pronouns, when the command is a positive command, you put it at the end of the verb, okay? If it's a negative command, you put it before the verb, but after no. Before the verb, but after no. Okay, tome los antibióticos. Okay, you don't want to say los antibióticos. And los antibióticos is a direct object, so you need the pronoun for a direct object. And this is a plural direct object, los antibióticos. So you say tómelos. If you are addressing more than one person, tómenlos, tómenlos. Look at the end here, tómenlos. Tómelos, tómenlos. Y los stands for los antibióticos. Okay? If you are using a negative command, no los tome, no los tomen. Los, the pronoun goes before the verb, okay? And after no, after no. Okay, in a sentence like pida la receta al doctor, we have a verb, we have a direct object, and we have an indirect object. The direct object is la receta, and the indirect object, okay, is el doctor. Now, let's say you don't want to mention la receta, okay? You're gonna use the pronoun for the direct object. You would say, pídala al doctor. Pídala al doctor. Y la stands for la receta. Okay, let's say you don't want to mention the doctor because you have mentioned doctor a lot. Okay, so you say pídale, pídale. And le stands for the doctor. And you can combine both together if you want. Remember, first you put the indirect pronoun, and then you put the direct pronoun. Pídasela, pídasela. Okay, if the command is in the negative, you would say no se la pide. No comes first, then the indirect object, then the direct object, and then the verb. And you may wonder, why se and not le? Well, there's a rule that you should know, that you study in 1102, that says that you can't have le and la together. You have to change le to se. Okay, I don't think you will find many sentences like these in your exams, but just in case, I decided to include this information. Okay, I have some advice for you, and they are in the command way of conjugating a verb. Lean el texto. Vean los tutorials en my lab. Repasen los verbos reflexivos y los objetos directos. Sorry, I have a typo there. E indirectos. Estudien mucho. Estudien mucho. All these verbs are in the command form and in the plural form. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know, and we'll talk about it.